Welcome, everybody. We are here. We made it, Cass. We are here for What Have You Been Thinking, Episode 2. We were supposed to be here at 9 o'clock, my time, but thanks to me, this is all me, so I can't blame anyone but me. Uh, I scheduled a
We got a
premiere.
little bit.
Well,
It's all good.
I scheduled a premiere for tonight, and I realized that was going to run into it. So, and then I had company show up. I'm just being honest, guys. So I do, but I take full account that I'm late. But I didn't want to leave you guys high and dry. I didn't want to leave Cass high and dry. I want to do this every Saturday. Next week we will be here at 9 p.m. as promised. I don't have any company that's going to be showing up or all that great stuff. So how have you been, Cass?
Wonderful as always. How have you been?
I've been
Apart from
good.
busy.
Yeah, but yeah, busy. So yeah, and once chat gets going here, keep an eye on it, and
Yep.
guys in the chat, let me know how the volume is and stuff like that. You think I got to turn myself up or Cass
Yes.
up or anything like that? And I know there's a way I can bring my chat up, but I know as soon as I do, it's going to be flying all. Well, maybe not. Hold on. Let me see if I can do this, guys, live. All right, let me get my thing over here. This might work. Because Cass kind of told me how to do this. So
Yep.
I have to go here and then go to the video, correct? All right.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And then there is somewhere I have to click on the video, or do I just have to click on the dots?
On the dots of the chat, and the volume is fine out there.
All right. So save to. No, that's not right. So okay, I'm gonna bring up the video. Hold on. There we go. Oh, okay. And I don't know how I did this last. Oh, here we go. I got it. And then I pop it out, right?
Yep.
Ah, there we go, guys.
So I've got this here.
Beautiful.
I've got the chat there, and we're good to go.
All right, there we go. I see. Yeah, I see Cass's chat. I see Mandy. I see. Guys, I got sunglasses on here. Believe me, you want me to wear sunglasses right now. I look like hammered crap, man. I've been up all day. So, but welcome everybody. You know, we're here. We made it.
Yes, he's looking a little bit rough behind the scenes, people.
Oh, that's cool. No, I enjoy this. I really enjoy the live. I was telling you off air that I really enjoy the live talking with you and people interacting, because I think that's how a lot of things can get discussed and brought to attention. And I know that me and you have been talking about censorship and how bad it's getting. I mean, it's really they're clamping down, and I found that out the hard way, is like most of us do that are doing this.
It's insane. You literally will get shut down midstream, and you just said, before you even get to that point, you'll
Yep.
get shut down
Yep.
just for putting something in the title.
Yeah.
So
Like I kind of thought that they would like, I get it when you upload the video and they have time to look at it, or people report it, it gets flagged and then they pull it down. But I didn't even make it through Premiere. I put a video up with Russ Tanner, and I won't even talk about what we were talking about it, and I had it in the title, and I was maybe 3 hours into like setting the Premiere up for the next day, and they sent me a slap on the wrist and wouldn't let me play it. So I had to put it on my Rumble channel. But I was like, wow, like I don't even know how it had to be the title that they saw, and they just said
it
no.
had to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I know that
that's epic. That is epic, my friend.
it is.
You win that. You absolutely. We've been pulled midstream. We've been taken down after stream. We've been taken down 3 days after we've had a show,
Right.
but not before. That you win that. That's epic.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, it's crazy, and that's why I think it's so important that we have to support. That's why I love Revolution Radio, because it's a place where you're not censored, and that those places are becoming so rare and more rare every time that we turn around, right? And it's just getting worse. And so I think it's so important that people have to start fighting back on this, because they're just taking more and more and more, and they never give it back. Anybody that opens a history book knows when the government takes power, they never give it back. And the way that they're censoring people, they're making it so hard to get the information out there, especially on these big platforms. So I understand the frustration. There is other platforms, but unfortunately, there's a lot of problems with a lot of these platforms, I find, with Rumble and that, especially with the live part of it.
Yep. Yeah. And they've all got their quirks. YouTube is easy. It works with the chat. It works with the stream, with the lives, that sort of thing. Rumble is clicky, its chat's clunky,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't like it. I don't know. There's just something about you get that about it. BitChute's much similar. It's really horrible to use, especially on a phone.
Right.
So you've got what is it? Odyssey does lives and stuff like that
Yep.
now. I haven't even that. I've maxed out at 3. I'm not playing with any more until we get completely booted off of here, I think.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I'm the same way, and I've been looking into Odyssey too, and they're great for uploading videos to 100%. I like the live aspect. I'm starting to like it, and I just noticed that those other platforms are kind of clunky, as you said, and
Yeah.
but at least you can go and talk more there, and bring up some more topics, right? Like here, it's you gotta be so careful. Use code words. You gotta kind of finesse your way around the topic.
Oh, absolutely. And if you get ahead of steam up, it's so easy to just forget and let fly, and then all of a sudden, bang, you're gone.
Hundred
Again,
percent.
as we found out the hard way.
Yeah, I know. Jamie and your guys' channel. Yeah, you guys have got lost a couple channels, and I mean, when you guys did your last show, you guys said that Rumble went down halfway through. I find that suspicious. Really, I mean, it's just
Oh,
weird. Like, did it go
yes,
down for
like
everybody? Was it down for everybody, or was it just you guys, or do you not know?
I don't know. I went back in and checked a couple other channels that I follow there, and they were fine, but they weren't living. So I don't know. Either way, it was yeah. Considering what we were doing and where we were going and who we were chasing at the time,
Right.
I find it quite interesting that yeah, well, eventually, but bye bye. We don't
Oh,
like you anymore.
for sure. Oh, I gotta say hi to Andrew because he said hi to us. Hi, Andrew. I got the chat up on my. I got so many screens open, guys. You have no idea. I don't know how Cass keeps all these screens and chats open and all of that, but I am getting there. I got her open, and so I am watching the chat here. I can try to keep a track of it, and I let Cass kind of do
Well,
that, but I do have it in front of me, which is better than last week. It's an improvement because I didn't even have it. I just had the green chat that we have in the show chat that pops up. So I mean, I can
yeah,
kind of. It's a little smaller. This is a little better. But yeah, I just think great topic. I think to talk about censorship. It's getting bad, and
it,
I don't see a lot of people.
yeah.
Like, do you see a lot of people even? I see people talking about it, but I don't even know how you fight something like that, like this censorship, right? I mean, they've got it. There is no way really when you think about it. We're kind of limited to their terms and service, right?
Well, we are because as soon as we sign up as a creator, whether we doing broad or you have a question in the chat, Rick, whether it's a live or a broadcast or a premiere, um, they
Where's
shut
the
up, Andrew. Oh, here we go already. um, yeah, as soon as you sign up to on YouTube, the conditions that you agree to, whether you read it or not, and hey, who the hell reads these things usually? That's it. They've got your shame hard. So as soon as you dot a T instead of crossing it, that's it. Bye bye.
Yep,
It's all over. There's your first strike. There's your second strike. 3, get lost.
yep.
So and once you've done what I think it's 2 channels under the same contact setup, once you've done that, then you've got to do the whole new email, you do the verify, do your phone number, all that sort of stuff. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's a pain in the ass.
Oh,
It
for
is an
sure.
absolute total pain in the ass.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And that's the problem, right? They've got if we want to use these platforms, they've got it so locked down. And I would have liked to have been around in the heyday when I talked to people that were doing YouTube from the start, and it was a very different environment back then. You could talk about anything, and then it's slowly getting worse and worse, and they're
Yep.
still getting worse. That's the problem. And as I was saying just at the beginning, once the government takes anything that they take, they never give it back. So it's just going to
No.
get worse and worse, and they're going to sanitize. They're sanitizing the truth movement so bad, and it's getting harder and harder. So we do have to start looking at other platforms that are not as bad, and they have, as we were
Yep.
saying, they have their problems, but at least they're there to try, and you
They
know,
they are, but trying to expect the people that come along the ride with us to jump between 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a hard task because like for what we do here, we do it wholly and solely on here. So that means we'd have to do a show here just to explain what's going
Mm-hmm.
on and then direct people to a new channel. Then they've got to sign up. And,
Yep.
I've a few people in the Southern Truth crew can't get into Rumble. So, like, I've set up a couple of extra accounts, like just basic Gmail account
Mm-hmm.
for people to use, and they're still having trouble. They're getting blocked at their end.
Right. Right.
It's,
And
you
Rumble
know,
makes the chat like Rumble. I don't like either because you got to log into your account to get into the chat, which is kind of a strange feature that they have. I found like at least for me on my phone, if I go into Rumble, I have to log into my Rumble account and then I can access your guys' chat. But if I just
yeah,
log in and if I just go on to Rumble, don't log into my actual account, I don't see the chat. So it's kind of it's a weird thing I don't like, and I have to refresh a
mm-hmm.
lot. So like I said, live has its problems. But and Andrew I saw a question by Andrew. Where did it go? Geez, I gotta figure this out. Oh yeah, he's right. While he's talking about we have to accept the terms and conditions, and they don't need a valid reason to do anything. And they are the law on themselves, and he's 100% right. I mean,
Yeah,
I talk to a lot of creators now that are getting videos flagged and taken down, and then they'll try to fight it, and YouTube won't even give them a reason. Like they'll be asking like why, like they'll give them a very broad, a stroke reason, and then they'll try to appeal it and get into the bottom of it and ask why their channel got taken down or their video, and nobody says anything, and they don't have to,
no,
right? They don't have to say anything. They don't have to say shit to us.
no, they don't. They own the platform.
Yep.
And it's their whole and sole right. It's no different to any business. Like this is my business, so that means I can tell anybody who walks through that door, turn around and walk out, please. You're not welcome here. I
Mm-hmm.
don't have to give a reason for it. I don't. Any customer, I can just say, look, I'm really sorry, not going to happen. Hey, I don't have to give a reason because it's my entity.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
yeah,
It's crazy. I mean, I don't, and I can just see in another 5 years where we're gonna be if this continues. And it's scary. I think about it a lot. And just because in the last few years I've seen these changes coming already, and it's gonna be so hard to get the truth out there.
yeah,
They're really doing their job well, and I try to tell people that. I mean, we have to fight for our rights and stuff like that, and I mean, yes, with these platforms, we have to follow their terms of service. So I mean, there's no way around that. It's their platform, right? So we got to agree to it. But I
exactly.
just find that people in general are just handing over rights very carelessly right now, and have been. And I always tell people do a little experiment. And I've told you this, Cass. Go and ask people in person to give you the standard, just a simple definition of what a right is, and
Yep, that's it.
you're gonna be shocked how many people cannot give you just a simple definition. They can't do
No,
it. So it's
no.
no wonder
We're not taught. We're bred dumb. Again, we're not taught to use our own discernment. We're taught to parrot.
hmm
We're taught to believe in the lies. We're taught to follow their narrative and not to think outside of that.
Yep.
And some of us can, and we're the ones that are ostracized.
Yep. And this false belief in authority, right? They start that right from the time you go to school, right?
Yep,
They start that with that whole paradigm of the authority figure, and I think that I know that's where it starts. Definitely is in the schooling system, which is why I'm a big
yep,
advocate for homeschooling. I would, if I did have children, I would never put them in the schooling system. I just wouldn't, because
no,
they're not teaching anything there that's gonna. They're not teaching the things that matter in life. They're not teaching natural law. They're not teaching objective morality. You know what I mean? They're not teaching principles. They're teaching you to
no.
become a cog in a machine.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what the human race has been turned into.
Oh, for sure.
We're talking about history
Yep.
before. We need to unlearn, and I mean that's the only way to put it is to unlearn everything we know and everything we think we know and everything that's been punched into our brains and relearn it properly. Is that ever going to happen? Nope.
I'm trying to
You
read.
know,
I don't know how you guys read chat. I mean, okay. You'll have to read what Andrew said. Read it to me there, Cass. I see it, but I mean, I'd have to blow it up to be an inch high to see it. Like I need
Which one?
glasses. The very best one, the last one. I think
Yeah.
you show before, Rick, had a relative topic. We are taught to be in a slave. Oh, for sure, slave system, and just
Yeah.
accept.
Yeah.
Yes, 100. Yes, as a normal
Yeah.
thing, and it happens to everyone. 100%.
Both Andrew and Peter are dropping out, real reasons right there.
Yep.
Um, the platforms, yes, they have been taken over by shit posters and people who are deliberately going out there to try and trigger.
Mm-hmm.
Hence, people like us who have got a story to share. Um, it's it preloads the system that we're the ones that get censored. The shit posters already been moved on to something else. They don't care about what we're doing. We're, we're the ones that cop it. We're the ones that get shut down. We're the ones that have got to think
Yep.
ahead. And let's be honest, with everything, like all these guys in chat, you, myself, um, everything that we've got going on in our heads that we're looking into, that we're researching, that we know that we're trying to get out there, we haven't got time to be sitting there trying to think of code words for crap that just to work around their little algorithms.
Yep.
It's beyond the pale, to be honest. If they want to be called a fair platform,
Yep.
they've got to get rid of it. But they don't want to be called a fair platform. They don't care.
Well,
They're,
yeah, and
they're
you're
making their money from people who are watching the videos get interrupted by an advert, and they make their money and they don't give a shit.
exactly, and that's the thing too. Is that how do I word it? Like, with the code words, you have to, like, I always tell people that with this type of information you have to kind of judge where somebody is at before you start hammering with it. I think at the beginning, when we start awakening and learning all of this, how the world really works, my natural reaction was when I would start talking to somebody, I would just hammer them with everything. I would just go at them and start telling them stuff. And I think everybody at one point goes through this because you want to get that information out there. You're excited to, but you learn very quickly, as I did. You have to start gauging people where their consciousness is at, and so when you're using code words for somebody who's never looked into these topics like natural law or any of these topics, freedom, any of it, and any of the topics that we can't talk about on here because obviously we'll get pulled, and you're starting to use code words, a lot of people that are just tuning in that might stop by to see what you're talking about, they don't know these code words yet. They kind of lose them from the start. They're like, what are they talking about? I mean,
Exactly.
yeah, and I like what in chat here, Peter Piper said, and somewhere here I saw, when was the last time that somebody actually put pen to paper and wrote a letter to someone? And I mean, I grew up in that era where you had to mail somebody a letter. If they lived out of state, yeah, you too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, if you want notes, this is just what's within reach. you know, I I live on notes
Me
and
too.
bits of paper
Yeah, me too.
scattered around my desk,
Me too. Yeah,
and
yep.
yeah,
I tell
and
people
I
all
just
the
get
time.
lost.
Oh, me too. And I used to tell people, like, I remember the day when people would write letters to people, stick them in a mailbox, who lived out of town, and then maybe 2 weeks later they get your letter, and then you had to wait another 2 weeks for them to reply to you. Like, it wasn't like it is now, and that's what really upsets me too about the way I love technology, because there is a good point to technology and these platforms. It's allowing me and you to talk right now. You live in Australia, we're talking
I
live.
know,
It's amazing. So
and yeah, we've got people. People are going to see this from all over the world.
yep. So there is a
You know,
good point to it, but I also think that a lot of people waste this technology on stuff that really doesn't matter, and we've never in history had so much information at our fingertips, and I think that people should take advantage of that. I wish more people would, and I get it that people get sucked into all this. I call it noise that they put out there, and that's what they're doing. They want you distracted, so you're not looking into these topics. Me and Cass, me and you talk about this all the time off the air, that this is all by design. And if you don't think that this is by design by the social media or the social, not media, well, social media is bad too, but the social the people that are, why am I blanking? The social engineers. Wow. Social engineers are not
that
are yeah, they're
that's the
not
word.
planning this, and this is a war against humanity. You have to start doing more research because they want people distracted. and not looking into these topics. Because once you, for me, I know, and I know for you, once you start looking into these topics of natural law and learning what your rights are, and then what the governments are doing to take away our rights, it's an eye opener. And then for me, it just went forward and it just kept going. I'm sure it was like that with you.
Yeah, yeah, basically. I remember in school, I remember, there you go, here's one for the generation. Remember being taught how to do our mathematics and times tables and
Yep.
that sort of thing. Like it was hammered into us how to do this. And it all had to stay in the brain. And you were tested on that because you weren't always got a calculator at your hand, were you? Like I remember being made to, not allowed to have a calculator near me for, oh, who knows how many years. And yet now look at us. Like hardly anybody uses it. If you set up and someone says, like throws a question at you, oh, what's this and that, and you just go bang, the weirdest looks they give you. Like,
Yep.
especially the younger generations, they just sit there and go, how did you do that?
Yep.
Like my grandkids, it's insane. You do sort of just the things that we do naturally, and they just look at you and cock their heads and go, huh,
Mm-hmm.
how? That doesn't make sense. Where's your calculator? Where's your phone?
Yep.
So it's, yeah,
No, I agree,
the
and
things have changed.
they have, and I think of technology in a lot of ways has actually dumbed us down before, and we don't even realize that it's done so subtly. And I think of things in a very simple form, even with like you were saying, phones. I remember when I was younger, I knew everybody's phone number. I could just say it off the top of my head. I just knew people's phone numbers. I could go to a phone and dial it, and I knew it.
Yep,
Now, if somebody loses their phone, half of them don't even know their own phone number and on
yep.
their phone, and then they definitely don't know half the numbers that are on their phone. If somebody just lost their phone right now, how many of those numbers would you just remember off the top of your head? If you're being honest, I know I wouldn't remember three-quarters of them.
No, three quarters. I'd be lucky to remember four.
Yeah.
Like I've lost that. I've been able to. I've been able to discard that portion of the memory, so to speak.
Yep.
Um, but there's so much other stuff that you need to remember these days. So like passwords and pin numbers and dots after eyes and every password that you're supposed to put that you have to create. You have different setups for secure and not secure and for banking and finance and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's taken over that little section that was for phone numbers and was for addresses and was for postcodes. Although postcodes I'm still pretty going right on, but um, it's a retraining of our natural brains. I think I really
Mm-hmm.
do.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And I know that's what they want, and that's another reason. And I talk to people a lot about texting too. I have never been a fan of texting, and I never will be. And I'll tell you why I'm not. And I'm not sure if a lot of people are like this. Maybe just people. Some I don't know. I've never really dove into it with people, but I'm not a big fan of these texting apps. Even like texting on your phone and Messenger, all of the even emails in a way. And I'll tell you why I call it. And for my what I call texting is a dead language. And when I say that, people go, "What do you mean a dead language, Rick?" What I mean by that is that there's no
Hmm.
emotion behind it. So you're getting these texts, and for me, I'm a very visual person. I like to talk to somebody. I like to hear their voice. I like to see them, because you think of the face. You read people's faces. You read their tone. Their body language. Everything goes into that when you're having a conversation with somebody. And with texting, it's so just a dead language to me. There's nothing there. There's no you can't tell what they're feeling. You can't tell by their tone. You don't see them. There's no emotion behind it. So that's why I call it a dead language. And I just think of we're losing that where people I see like I remember Cass. I was sitting at a restaurant. I swear, and I'll never forget this because it really impacted me when I saw it. And there was four people, younger people, at a table, and they were giggling, and that's what made me kind of look over. They were giggling, and I was like, what are they doing? And then I saw all four of them on their phones texting each other. They weren't talking in person. They were texting each
Hmm.
other at the table and going, oh, I can't believe you said that. And they were giggling, and I'm like, oh my God, they're at the same table and they're texting
Yep,
each other. And I just think of how many people are not even communicating anymore, and we're losing that ability.
we are absolutely. There's no question where
Right.
it's um, the spoken word is slowly being killed.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's all I got for it. It's being killed. the language. I have different language and different mannerisms for different people that I talk to in life.
Mm-hmm.
So you use different contexts and different syntax, and some people just can't get the concept. If you if I mess up and say one person I speak to, I'll use a certain verbiage. And if I have been talking to that person and someone comes in here and I carry on with that theme, it blows brains. Like they glaze over. They got nothing. They
Yep.
have no idea what you're even talking about.
Mm-hmm.
It's for me, it's like a hard reset that I've got to go, all right, wait, stop, business brain on, or this person, family brain on, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And just to bring it back into line so that the other side understand what I'm saying.
Yep. Yep. And we're losing. They are taking away. They are slowly taking that interaction away from people, where you're communicating, especially in person. And then another thing and I got to be careful when. So I'm just saying that with the having to cover your face for the last couple of years, so you guys all know what I'm talking about. You're covering half the face. You're missing the all the expressions of the face in that, and that's the kind of way I see things, is how they are kind of. It seems like it's not going to cause damage, but I know that down the road, that we're talking like this wasn't a couple weeks or a month. This is years of people doing this, and to think that
Yep,
there's not going to be consequences for this action down the road is just not being honest. And I'm just really worried about what they're going to be. I just think that we're losing our social cues of how to talk in person and interact with one
yep,
another.
yep.
And
Absolutely.
and I
I
don't know
think
what
the whole masking thing is going to cause damage for the next generation. I think.
Yes, like with the kids and stuff, like young. I think of the young. I always think of the young kids in that because they're the ones coming up behind us, and I think of when I think of that, I think of the schooling system, and what they're being taught in there, and then you have parents that are not conscious parents. They're not parenting consciously, which I've done. I've had guests on talking about this. I think they're amazing interviews. Guys, check them out. I'm serious. Even if you don't have
Mm,
parents, it's something that you have to look at because it's very important. And if you don't have parents that are consciously parenting their children, and they're letting other people raise their children, and that's a big thing that I talk about in a lot of these interviews, is that, like, how much time do you really spend with your kids, right? You got two parents working, if there's two parents in the house or even one, you have maybe a couple hours in the morning, a couple hours at night, and then you're right away you're sending them into these government indoctrination camps, which I call schools. You're and it's getting
oh,
younger and younger, right? But like when I was growing up,
yeah,
there was kindergarten, I think junior kindergarten, and then it went like public school, high school, up and up and up. I'm not sure if it's different where you are, the U.S., but I'm just saying here for Canada. Now you got pre-kindergarten, and then you have daycare before that, right? So you're handing your children over to these
yeah,
basic strangers to raise them, and they're not getting, as we said at the beginning, they're not teaching natural law or these or principles or anything along those subjects. And
no.
so it's up to the parents. They have to get educated on this and then teach that to their kids. You have to rely, there's got to be some accountability here on the parents, to be, if we're being honest.
There has to be, but they're not going to take it because they're so tied up in the system that says you can't own your house and your cars and your toys and have kids unless you're both working and earning money and having this great income and all this fancy stuff around you.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, mum's a child, and as soon as the child's able to leave, that kid daycare, off you go and back to work.
Yep.
That is the most wrong thing that society has done in my lifetime.
Yep.
That I put a lot down to that, to be honest.
Yep. And that exactly, and I don't think, and I get it that it is done by design. I think most people, and even in chat, would agree that they want us in that. They don't want people, the family getting closer. And I've seen over the years, definitely a war on the families. They're trying to break the family unit up, and I've seen a war on masculinity, if I'm being honest. And I am going to be doing a topic on. I do have a guest. Yeah, I do have I have a guest that I'm going to be doing a topic on this where we are going to be going into the war on masculinity, that it is going on,
Yep.
and a lot of people, I don't hear a lot of people talking about that, and it is out there. People may think I'm crazy, but
Oh,
trust me, it is. It's very
it's
real.
huge. It's a huge, huge problem.
Yep.
You know, I've got no qualms in putting my hand up and going, you know what? I don't need anyone to save me. I've got balls on my own, to be perfectly honest. And I call them titanium, and they're out there loud and proud, and I'll kick anyone's ass on my own behalf. Thank you very much. That said, I don't agree with the fact that the the male species, is that the word, have been um, cut down to such a degree that they're too scared to even raise a hand to smack their kid on the ass for being a deliberate little turd, you know? They're too scared to turn around and say to their wife, pull your head in, woman. That's just back because they've been taught that it's wrong, that you can't do that. You don't raise your voice, you don't cry, you don't, the other way around. You do cry, men can cry, you get emotional, you get upset. Yeah, we all have to do it,
Hmm.
male, female, either other. But it's been brought to the front. The lines are getting blurred
Oh
beyond
yeah.
recognition. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
So it's going to be a good topic. I'm looking forward to diving into that one because it's one I've been looking at for a long time, and especially on the
yep,
family unit. And I've had people give me kind of try to give me pushback when I say that they're attacking the family unit because they'll say, well, with what's happened over the last couple of years, people were in lockdowns, and so they were their family. They were actually together, and so they were it was good for the family. And I'm like, no, because you're not looking at it from the real sense of it. Is that, as we were saying earlier, before all of this, you had two parents that, or one or two parents, whatever, were at work all day. Their child was at a school or a daycare, and then so you were spending maybe an hour or two in the morning, an hour or two at night with your family, give or take. And then so that was your routine. But then when they shut all of that down, and the families were forced to be together in the same house for years, that's a strange environment because that's not how the family that was normally operating. So
yep,
what I'm fascinated by is looking, at least here in Canada, what the divorce rates are since this has been going on for the last couple of years, and they're going through the roof. The
yep,
divorce rates, like, I mean, it's just because people are not used to being in the same house or in the same space 24/7
yep.
like that. And so do you want to say that maybe? And I'm not saying it didn't affect every family the same way. I'm sure. Like, I know a lot of people that actually did start homeschooling during all of this and found a way to make it work. And so there,
Yep,
there's I don't want a blanket statement say that's a bad thing, but it's definitely had an effect for the negative.
I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. I think a lot of people have just found that they don't actually like the person that lives in the house with them.
Mm-hmm.
End of story. Now they've put so much time together and realise that why?
Yeah.
I don't actually like you.
Why am I
Basically.
living with you? Yeah. Why am I here?
Yeah.
What
Yeah, exactly.
what is going on around
Um,
here? Yeah. No,
yeah.
I can see it.
So yeah, I know quite a lot of people that that's happened to, and they've just sort of gone, you know what, I'm done, I'm out. See you later.
Well,
And
it's just because it's
like,
not a natural state to be in, right? For all these years, they've kept people so busy that you're, like I
and
said,
so
you're only,
separated.
well, yeah, separated. You only have a couple hours here and there with them in the morning, afternoon, as I was saying, or night or whatever. And then when you change that whole atmosphere and dynamic, and then you're together 24/7, that's a big
Yeah,
change. That's a big change when you think about it. And so if you're not used to that, then it's really a big change. And that's why I was looking at the divorce rates, because I'm very curious about that. I was keeping an eye on divorce rates, especially suicide rates, and I just think that the
yeah,
damage over the last couple of years we have not. People think like, oh, it's getting better now. I don't think we've really seen the after, like, we haven't seen the full effect of this yet, and it's still going on that I can
no,
see.
no, it's a growing pandemic. There's that word.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
Sorry. I think one little mitigating factor to put into that though, with the decline in societal values, the marriage rate is going down as well. How many people just cohabitate, don't
Mm-hmm.
actually make the commitment, don't actually make the effort to get married? I mean, it's a piece of paper.
Mm-hmm.
That said, it does have a meaning. If you give it meaning, it has a meaning. So divorce rate's not really a perfect indicator in this day and age because you think you got the last 20 years of family units that aren't actually on paper
Yeah.
connected to on paper split. So the suicide rate and the breakup rate among people that you know personally, that's a different story.
Hmm.
But yeah, divorce rates are a bit more trickier to follow.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's just something I've been keeping an eye on. I just really curious because I just know that we're not seeing the full effect of this. And I mean, I could say a lot, guys. I'm trying. I can't on here, as you guys know. All you guys in chat watching know by now, just by watching Cass and Jamie on their channel, that there's certain topics we just cannot touch. And I learned that the hard way. I'm not going to learn it again if I don't have to. And but yeah, I just think that people have to start. Um, getting out. I'm really big on for communities and that too. I think people have to start getting back out there in the community and interacting and getting getting to know. Like for me, it's big on getting the people to know around my community and that, because I think that's another thing that over time people have lost. And at least in my area, I mean, at one time everybody knew everybody, and I think that we have to start going back. We have to go back to a simpler time and realize that it's not what they want, and that's the thing. So I think it's really important because I think it's gonna get it's what's coming is kind of scaring me from what I'm seeing, and I don't want to speculate too much. I'm not like somebody that just speculates on things, but what I've seen is gonna get worse. So I think we have to
it
start
is.
relying on people more, each other especially,
Yep.
and
Yep. We need to reform our own community groups.
yep.
I think. Well, as I say that, I sit here and talk. I'm not a people person. I don't talk.
Well, you do a good job on
I
here,
really don't talk. I know, right? It blows my mind.
but you're saying you're
But yeah,
not in a group of real people. You're not. That's not your thing. That,
no. Group for real people. You'll find me outside going that way.
well, not everybody is a person.
Literally.
Not everybody's a people person. I mean, let's be honest. I'm not saying that everybody is, but I think that I really wish people would realize that what we're up against, and I think that and that's why all the distractions are there, because that's what I've always noticed is they keep those distractions going, and
Yeah.
so we're not looking into these things, and that's why I'm such a I mean I'm really looking forward to future shows with you. I've been working, like as I was telling you, on slides and stuff like that, because I do want to start breaking down meanings of words and the origins of words. I think that I call it word magic, because I think a lot of people don't even realize the words that they speak, what they even mean, half of them, their true meanings, or where they even come from. And
Yeah.
that's something I've looked into for years, and I'm fascinated by, is like the origin of words that people don't even realize what they mean. Getting back to when you ask,
Etymology.
yeah, exactly. And then when I was saying, and it goes back to what a right is, right? You ask people what a right is, they don't know the true meaning of a right, the meaning of it, just a simple working definition of it. Which do you? And I can give it to you, and it's easy. It's a simple answer. I call it common sense. But a right is any action that does not cause harm to another sentient being. It's that simple. That is
Yeah.
your rights.
Exactly.
And people, you'd be
Exactly.
surprised that people that cannot give you that answer. I ask people all the time, and I get some crazy answers that people give me what they think a right is. And so,
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I completely agree.
all
They
right,
just people get again. They're not taught to think. People aren't taught how to think. They're taught to parrot.
mm-hmm.
So, what's your rights? Oh, my right says my Bill of Rights, my Constitution. And the government told me I couldn't do this, and they gave me a license to do this. Like,
Which
yeah,
yeah,
no. Back it up, honey. That's not quite what I'm talking about here.
back
you
it
know?
up, back it up, honey. Well, that's the problem. It goes back to the belief in authority, right? That this false belief in authority, that they have the
Yes.
rights to do this and make these laws, which they're not allowed. They can't give these rights to people to do this in government and stuff. So it's a great topic to get into when you
Yeah.
start diving into it. But no wonder we're losing rights when people don't even know what they're defending. Right? If you don't even know the definition of what a working definition of a right is, or you have the wrong definition, you're not going to be able to
And
defend
that's
it.
a wrong.
Then it's a
Yeah.
wrong. Yeah, it's easier to actually describe what a right is by going into the apathetic way of what it isn't, and then it's easier because you can break down the wrongs into basically seven, which I will do. I have a slide coming up next show where I can break. I do, and basically it's easier to explain what a right is by explaining what it is not, and
Yeah,
so all you have to do is show what wrongs are, which basically, if you look at wrongs, they all have a form of theft involved. So it's basically
yeah.
don't steal, right? And I'm going to break it down for you guys. I'll have a slide for you next week. I promise when I have more time. I was a little rushed this week. And
He's been a bit under the pump this week, poor bugger. He's been
yeah,
chased
yeah.
around.
But hey, I'm here. I made it. So I'm happy. I'm happy to chat. People are in the chat. I see Greg in there. Hi, Greg. How you doing, buddy? And I see
Ah,
everybody.
yes.
I love her. I love the chats. The people at least in the chat know what's going on. For the most part, I think from
Yeah,
when I interact with them, they have a great. They know, right?
yeah.
So it's the people that don't know these things that I hope that me and you reach and stumble upon this and start looking into it.
That's the thing. And what we do, what you do with your shows, what Jamie and I do on Southern Truth, the the chat room, yeah, it's a bit of an echo chamber because it's people who see the point or are on the same page but are learning from things that we've managed to find and come up with.
Mm-hmm.
But it's more a sharing point as well because I've done it myself. I've used some of your stuff. I've used some of our stuff. People have sort of got into a debate with me, and I've gone, "Hang on a sec, I've got a video you need to watch,"
Yep.
and I've used that to send to somebody to go, "Open your eyes, read, digest this, and then come back to me." So it, that's the end output. That's my end output aim is to be able to have something there that someone can understand. Like, what did we say before we went on air? We're real people.
Yep.
We are, we're real people sitting here in front of you. If you
Yep.
can't, yeah, you can see that. Um, so if something we say you think is going to help somebody else open their eyes and understand something a bit better, that's what the end output should be. You can say, look, here's two real people that talk about this. Here you go, watch this.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think
yeah,
it's important that people talk, and that's I think a lot of is a great thing, right? To have just a discussion. Doesn't have to be an argument. Doesn't have to be a big full fledged debate. I mean, those are great. A lot of good comes out of those too. But not arguing in my opinion. I think that's just kind of you're chasing your own tail when you get to that point. But if you're open to even look into new things, and I think that's the hardest part when I talk about shadow work and stuff. You have to be willing to be brutally honest and tear down old beliefs and things that you thought were right or correct, and then be willing to say that they weren't and tear them down and not be so
yeah,
cemented in your beliefs, because I think beliefs are very dangerous, as I was saying last week. If you just have a
yeah,
belief and you don't, you're just believing it for whatever reason without really knowing. And so I just think that it's a great thing. I get a little discouraged at times, if I'm being honest, Cass, because I talk to a lot of people, and I'm like you. I'll try to point them to a video or an interview or something, and a lot of people they don't watch it. They come up with 1,000 excuses not to, and I
no,
just think that's a shame, because even I'm not saying people have to believe anything I say or agree with anything I say, but at least be willing to look into it, and then we can have a discussion. Can I have a discussion with you about anything if you don't even know what I'm trying to make my point on? Like, I mean, I have to look at your point, you have to look at mine, and then we can come in the middle and have a discussion. But I have people that don't even want to look into anything. They just kind of,
yeah.
do you run into that?
I do all the time. They just
Okay, I'm
people are
not the
stuck in
only
their
one.
own little echo chamber, their own little mindset, and they're just not prepared to to entertain another point of view.
Hmm.
They, it's this is where I'm at, and no, that's not right. That's no, that doesn't cross over. Not interested.
Yep.
Tunnel vision. It's all pure tunnel vision.
Yep. Yeah, well, at least I'm not the only one that runs into that.
Oh,
Because I just get really frustrated. I think that's what gets me more mad than anything, to be honest, is that people that aren't even willing to look into these things at all, and they just kind of just put this wall up, right? And they don't even want to look into it. And I'm like, well, I mean, I'll look into pretty much anything. Just
yeah,
as I think that's how you gain knowledge. And I'm not saying you have to believe anything, or I'm not saying you have to believe even the videos I tell you to go watch or ask you to go watch. I just I mean, I just think you should be willing to at least take in the information and then do the, like I say, the trivia process, which we talked about last week, which is, and I relate the trivia process, which is just thoughts, emotions, and actions. The trivium, so it's like a pyramid, and that's how we kind of process stuff. But you can also look at it from a computer standpoint, which a lot of people understand because we're on a computer, which is data
Yeah,
and then processing and then output. And I just think that a lot of people are missing out on the data part. They're not even taking in this information, which we were saying earlier, Cass, that there's so much information at people's fingertips now that they're not
yes.
utilizing. They won't look into these things. So how do you, if you're not willing to take the data and even process it, I don't know where you go from there, to be honest. How do you grow from that?
It's it's a tricky spot to be in because you got to crack through in some way
Mm-hmm.
to get that first little seed in place. Without that, nothing can grow.
That's true.
So if once you get, or they have to be willing to open up to let that seed in. The trick, I guess, for what we do is just to let the information flow out there, um, and wait for something to take seed and germinate.
Right.
Then and only then have you got a chance of sharing it. I've come to the conclusion quite rapidly that if sorry, someone up there. I was trying to be quiet about that because, as you know, it's like, um, oops, yeah, real people, real people. Uh, yeah, if there comes a point where you're just wasting your energy, like you're talking to somebody and it's just they're blank, they've got no concept.
Yep.
So I'm wasting my breath, I'm wasting my time, I'm wasting my effort. You're not taking up any more rent. Bye bye.
Yep.
End of
That's why
story.
I was saying at the beginning earlier that you got to kind of judge where their consciousness is at, right? I mean, if you're way up
Yeah,
here in that top in the consciousness, and then they're a little bit lower, you're not. You got to kind of, as you said, plant seeds, right, and hope that they look into it and something down the road. And I always say it could take a day, it could take 10 years, it could take 50 years. I don't know, but at least we're putting the seeds out there, and I just hope that people will look into these topics because it's life changing when you do, and when you realize how bad the wool's been pulled over our eyes in every aspect of our life. It's so eye opening. Like I still remember when that happened, when I was just like, wow, like everything that I thought was a lie, it's a lie. And they don't, and
yeah,
people, that's a hard thing for people to admit. I think that you have to admit that you've been duped. And Andrew was saying
yeah.
something good in the chat. I see. I wish I got to get on StreamYards like you guys do, so I can highlight these chats. I can't do it with OBS. At least I don't know how to do that yet, guys. But they
Yeah.
also, can you read that what Andrew said, Cass? It's like for me, it's like up in the
Um,
middle. He was talking about how people accept lies too willingly.
okay. Yeah. So Andrew's comments. They also accept lies too willingly, thinking that's what everyone does, and they don't rock the boat. Don't call them out. It's not socially acceptable. That's just my observations of some people and kids.
There you go.
Um, and then the next comment was seems to be all about others' perception of them is more important than anything else.
Yeah,
And Peter's backed it up with perception is a big word, Andrew. It has so many variables people don't even think about. And both. Brilliant because
yep,
you're right. You're both 100% correct.
yep. How many people
Um,
go along to get along? That
ah,
like that.
I know.
That is a whole that show. Me and Cass could probably do it for like 5 hours with the people in the chat, and we would barely scratch the surface of how like it does. And I'm serious. When you start thinking about people what they will let slide by to go along to get along, and the immoral things that they will do to not rock the boat and to get a paycheck, and that is a whole topic that I love getting into. But it's a
Mhm.
topic that you have to have some ground floor, you have to build a foundation to get into these topics. And that's why I always
Yes.
say that for me, and I'll always say it for me, the ground floor. And I've talked to you about this on air and off air, and I've said it even
Yep.
on your guy Jamie's show that you have to do this shadow work on yourself before you need the foundation. It's like a house. I mean, if you have a shaky foundation that's built on lies, you have nothing concrete to stand on. It's built on a house of cards. But so once you
Yep.
do the work on yourself, and I do truly believe that, Cass, I know you do too, because we talk about it all the time. Me, Cass, talk a lot off air because
We do.
we
We
do, but
do.
it's about topics. It's about these topics, and that's why I love having you on and doing this show, because to get your side, to get your thoughts on it, because I mean I have my side, and then I like hearing yours and other people's, especially people in chats and that. And I just think
Yeah.
that people, and once again, guys, it always comes back to this. This is done by design by the social engineers. They don't want you to have the time to do the work on yourself, and you have to do this in quiet work. I mean, do whatever you can call it, whatever you want. I call it shadow work, and it doesn't mean you have to
Yeah.
sit in a room by yourself and like I do. I usually I'm facing a mirror and I'm confronting myself, but I also do it outside when I'm in nature by myself. That's a great place. I've talked to people that do it by going for walks. Some
Yeah.
people go out like Cass. Cass will go out in the nature. I know you do. You'll be outside. You might dance around in that. You get into that. It's true.
Ja.
Yeah, but it gets you into that zone where you start confronting yourself. And I know that most people would rather run the opposite way than to confront themselves and be honest with themselves 100%. What lies are you telling yourself every day?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that's where people have to start doing this work, and it's a continuous work. It's not something that you just do for a little while. We're always working on ourselves. I mean, nobody's perfect, and it's an ongoing thing that you have to do. And I just think that that's a lot of people aren't willing to do that, and a lot of people by design don't have the time to do that. They want it that way.
No.
That's the last thing they want, is people getting into learning about themselves and starting to ask questions, and then asking questions of these supposed authority figures. And that it's a really empowering thing to do. It's frightening at first, but it's very empowering, and you get to kind of look forward to it.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. To be able to stand back and go, you know what? No, I don't care who you are, what uniform you wear, or what you think you are. That's not correct. That's not right. It's not
Yep.
just. Go away.
Yep.
End of
Yep.
story. Um, to be able to do that, that is so empowering.
Hmm.
It really is, because if you stand behind your own convictions and stand in your own power, yeah,
And
it's a
that's what they
self fulfilling.
it really is. And but like I said, it's something you have to do, that you have to be brutally honest with yourself, which I think that's why
Yeah,
people don't want to do it. And I think it's a lot like what I always say to people, like what keeps you up at night when you're lying in bed and you're kind of sitting there thinking, and everybody knows what I'm talking about. Everybody has lied there in bed and your brain's going a mile a minute, and you can't settle it, and you're going through it. I always tell people that is what I'm talking about with shadow work, when you start confronting yourself, that voice in your head that you feel,
yeah,
and it's trying to talk to you and work things out. And the secret is you have to be brutally honest with yourself, which I keep repeating because it is key that you do this. You have to be willing to admit a lot of things, and admit to the lies that you tell yourself, that we all tell ourselves. I mean, I'm no different than any of you guys. Believe me, I'm full of flaws, loads of them. And but I work, yeah, you too. And I mean, but I confront them and I deal with them. I don't just ignore them and bury them,
yeah,
or point my finger. And I think a lot of people will point externally, that it's everything else's fault or their fault or that whatever it is, and they're not pointing the finger at themselves. And I just keep wanting to hammer on that, because I just think people need to realize that this is, for me, is the foundation to getting higher in consciousness. And before we can go out and talk about it, we have to kind of do the work on ourselves, and it is work. What do you
yeah.
think?
It is. It's not easy. It is not easy to be able to look at yourself and go, oh, oh,
Yeah.
that's not good. That is a very, very hard. It's a hardest challenge that you'll face within your own self,
Yep.
in your lifetime, I do believe.
Yep.
But again, people have been bred down over the years, and we're taught that there has cause and effect. So if I am fixing something with my pliers and I grab hold of a piece of skin because somebody startled me, right? Which I'm using that as an example because I did that just this morning. Um, it happens. And slight bruise and a little blood blister. And, how easy would it be as a non conscious system drone, basically, to blame that person for startling you, whereas at the end of the day, it was your hand on that.
Yep.
your hand in the way, and I did it to myself.
Yep.
You know, that's how we're brought, that's how we're trained, bred, done, doctrinated, educated, not so
Mm-hmm.
much, into cause and effect. So you aren't the cause of anything that happens to yourself. There's always an outside cause, whereas that's not true. In real life, that is not true. 90% of what happens is at our own cause and at our own will,
Yep.
I believe.
No, you're
There is,
right. Yep.
yeah, there is the elements that, the variables do exist, and that can be a whole range of
Oh, for sure.
layers and
Yeah.
things.
Yep.
But yeah, 80, 90% of what happens to us is at our own cause, I believe.
Oh, for sure. And it's a lot of trauma I think that deep down people have not dealt with that you have to deal with. It's such a that's all I keep telling people. It's so empowering when you do shadow work on yourself and you start asking these questions and exploring. And it's getting I guess getting to know yourself and questioning. For me, it was a big thing was questioning a lot of the things that I believed and why did I believe
Yeah.
them. I was like, why do I believe this? Did I just do I believe this because I was told this? Or is told to believe this, and then that starts when you start asking these questions, and then you have to be willing though to admit that these are not correct beliefs, and then let them go and find the correct information. And then when you do find that correct information, you have to try to. I always tell people you have to try to align what you learn to natural law, to the will of natural law. You're not gonna be able to change natural law. It's infutable. It's there. It's set in stone, and it's the kind of the rules and the guidelines to this world that we live in, and you have to kind of align your behavior to it. Is what I'm trying to say, and that takes work, and constant work actually. And so that's where I think it begins. Is that we have to be willing to tear down old beliefs and things that aren't true, and be honest with ourselves. Admit that we were duped. I think that's the thing that was hard for me is to admit how bad I've been lied to my whole life by people in so-called authority that are making these. I'm sure. Did you go through that? Like, did you have that period of anger? Because I did. I mean, I'm always yeah.
Um, yeah, I've my story has been sort of up and down. I managed to resist. Excuse me. I'm an only child,
Mm-hmm.
so I had it hammered, I had it beaten, and because I've got other in the background stuff as well that as we talked about last week.
Mm-hmm.
Um, 2 seconds. And a dry throat, so I need more coffee. Okay. Um, I had that all but beaten out of me, and I was lucky enough to be able to resist that through my own strength of will. I didn't realize that until a lot later in my life. So, it took a long time for me to actually sit back and go, oh, how the hell did I survive that? And come out relatively sane. Well, I think so. Um, but yeah, the anger that toward people who don't know any better is a wasted emotion, and that's what I faced.
Yep.
That's the way I look at it. Again, that's where I say we're generations of bred dumb people. Like you think 40 people born in the 40s and 50s were brought into the same system that we were,
Mm-hmm.
just not quite as refined as we went through. So technically, you can't lay blame at our parents' feet because they didn't know any better. They were bred that way too.
Yep. Well, it's definitely passed down through for sure. 100%. We learn from what we're taught, right? And then we just keep repeating that cycle, passing that information on. 100%. And I gotta say, Peter, I hope let me see. I gotta move my glasses a little bit here, guys, because I can tell you, wow, I can actually read stuff, guys. So Peter Piper,
Holy
I
shit,
know
my friend.
he actually. Let me take these off. God. All right.
He makes a lot of sense, this guy. He makes a hell of a lot of
He
sense.
does.
Like you, we talk quite a fair bit, and yeah, he drops some truth bombs as good as you do, my friend.
Well, yeah, Peter Piper is 100%. Rick, the trouble is we face as children is that people live under man's law, not the rules of that were put down by this creator and the architect. That, my friend, that Peter is what I'm talking about by natural law. I couldn't have said it better. I mean, I do have a working definition of natural law. I'll have a slide for it next week, so I can break it. So when I know a lot of people when I talk about natural law, they're like, "What is he talking about natural law?" Like they get these own things. But what he said or she. Sorry, I don't know. um, by a name like that. So, but as I was saying,
Could
perfectly said.
have been ambiguous.
Perfectly said.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
man is trying. That is the whole problem, and the crux of the whole problem is that man's law. That people are trying
yeah,
to write. Man is trying to write laws. They're not allowed to write to begin with. They have no authority to write them, and people are not living under what I call natural law. What he explained. Perfect.
yeah, yeah. Exactly. I feel unanswerable to spirit first and foremost.
Mm-hmm.
Some people call it God, some people call it Jesus, some people call it Yahweh, some people call it the Messiah, whatever floats your boat,
Yeah.
people.
Where I'm not here to
I'm
debate that.
answerable
Yeah.
to spirit first and foremost.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm not.
And
I'm not here to convince anybody of any religion or anything. When I talk about natural law, if you want to call, a Buddha, Allah, God, Jesus, man with the white beard, your remote control, I don't care. That's not what I'm interested in teaching. That is something for each person. That's not what I mean. And a lot of people try to spin that on me, and I'm like, that is not what I'm talking about at all. I'm talking about the
yeah,
laws that were that were set in motion by the Creator, whoever you want that to be. I'm not here to tell you any. That's your, like Cass said, that's your thing. But there is these laws that are in place, and as
yeah,
sure as the law of gravity, magnetism, all of these laws that are in place, they are in
yeah.
effect. They're never changing, and it does not matter if you believe them in or not. Like natural law does not care if you believe in it. It does not give a
Not one
shit.
little bit.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
It does not give a shit if you don't believe in it and you want to deny it, say it's not real, you don't believe in it. Fine, that's fine. Natural law don't care, but those rules are you are still bound by these rules that have been in place, just like gravity. Go like I
Yeah.
saw a meme where he saw a person running off a cliff and jumping and saying, "I don't believe in gravity" as they're falling. Well, that's good. You may not believe in gravity, but it's still in effect.
Yeah. Basically, that's it. That's
Yeah,
it.
like
You're
if you
gonna bite
don't
your ass no matter what.
exactly don't believe in gravity, go up on your roof and run and jump off. Scream that when you jump off the roof, and let me know how that works out. That you don't believe in gravity when you hit the ground. And that's what I'm trying to say is that these laws are in place. They're not man's laws. And that is the crux of the problem is that we have people trying to write laws and follow these laws that are immoral and
Yeah.
based in lies and coercion and fear. And it's not. That's why we're in this mess. It's a whole different topic. Like I mean, I mean, we only. I'm. How do you do it in an hour and a half? I mean, how do you get into this conversation? It could go like so. We'll have to break it down in little pieces.
We
Uh,
could do like a full season mini series just talking about
well,
this.
that's what I like to do, guys. And let me know. Yeah, and I agree, chat. I agree, Cass. And I want to do that every week. Is have just a couple. I'd rather instead of trying to like carpet bomb people with all these different terms and the meanings in an hour and a half. I'd rather take one or
Yeah.
two and really dive into each one. So that's where I would like to start. And I was telling you that off here. That's where I want to start next week is having a couple
Yep.
slides, just a couple slides and just break down a couple things like natural law, working definition of it. Let's talk about it. Let's discuss it in the chat.
Yeah.
What is objective morality? That working definition, chat about it. What's a right? So on and so on, and take them in small bites so people can actually take the time to discuss it for an hour and a half, whatever we just. I think a lot of people told me in Cass that an hour was a little too quick, so I thought, well, let's try
Yeah.
an hour and a half or so. I mean, so let's do that and take these little bite-sized
We,
things, and me and Cass can discuss them with you, get your guys' input,
yeah.
and then we can talk about it, and then think about it over the week.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you guys think
Yeah.
in chat? I don't know. Am I talking crazy here, guys? I mean, does that sound like a good thing? Is something you guys would be interested in Cass and I doing? Is breaking down each like what we're talking about? Like I think that'd be really helpful and to get people all on the same page and all of us talking. I just think that'd be a great way to do it. Because I don't want
Yeah.
a carpet
I
bomb.
agree.
Yeah, I don't want a carpet bomb. And I know Cass doesn't either, right? So I mean, even this show we've covered a lot of different topics. Like we've kind of talked natural law, all these things, but I think if we kind of start at the beginning, break it down, that'll be really
Yeah.
interesting.
I do agree. I've answering the last few comments, like what I can see at the chat over
Yeah, go
here.
ahead. Yeah, go
I
ahead.
do. I want to just make one blanket statement in that I say this often. You probably heard me say it before. Everything happens for a reason. We are here right now in this time and place for a reason and a purpose. What that is, we may not all know. We may be learning, we may be ascending, we may be discovering where we fit into the grand plan. We may be sitting back and thinking, where do I fit into the grand plan?
Right.
The end point is we are all here right now at this time for a reason and a purpose. Some of us chose to be here, some did not. Others have got a calling, some do not,
Mm-hmm.
but it's all got a meaning behind it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I believe. I do. I believe we all are here for our. We have to find our true calling. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. Our true purpose. Our true what we're meant. I do believe we're all meant here to do something. I believe that, and we just it's trying to get back to finding out what that is. And I think it's all these distractions in the world and the lies that are being put on us that people lose because they're trying to make ends meet, right? I totally get where people are, why we're the way we are. I mean, they've designed it that way. The system is working perfect for the elite. They want it this way. They don't, and I'm trying to tell people that is what all these distractions are placed in front of us for, is not to do the work that we're talking about, not doing the shadow work on yourself, not looking into natural law, not looking into objective morality. They don't want you looking into these topics. Trust me, that is what the distractions are there for, is they don't
Yes.
want that. They want you in a state of fear, and they want you not consciously thinking, and they want you in a reactive state, because when you're in that reactive state in the reptilian's brain, you're in that reactive state, you're not consciously thinking, and they know that. Trust me, they know that. They know humanity too well. But I have to ask Peter, what do you mean where did the chat go? Jesus, just so so what do you mean, Peter, that it would be hard to do? I like hard to talk about each topic. I don't. You have to be a little more clear, buddy. I don't know what you mean. So just let me know what you mean. It would be hard to do, unless you know, Cass, what he means. I don't know.
No, I'm trying to decipher that too. It's
Like what would
I'm
be
actually
what
trying to
would be?
think back to what we were talking about when that came up.
Yeah, yeah. I just think it'd be a great way to do
Yeah,
it,
yeah,
guys. I think it
yeah.
would be.
And we'll never forget our roots. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. You're correct. We do have that. Some of us are more aware of it, as you know.
Yep.
Actually, as I'm talking to you both here at the moment,
Mm-hmm.
like you, Rick on screen, and you, Peter, in chat. As we all know, some of us are aware of where we stem from, and
Some don't.
what our connection is. Some don't. And Rick nailed it 2 comments up. We must descend before we can ascend. So there are people who, the ones who don't know what they're here for, don't know where they come from, don't know what their purpose is. They must go down. They must do the shadow. They must unlearn what they know before they can relearn who they are.
Mm-hmm. And that's the hard work. It is work.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why when I tell people that when you start doing the shadow work, it's called shadow work for a reason. There is work involved, and it's working. It's working on yourself mostly. That's where it starts, and for sure. So it's not easy work. It's a tough when you start going in and looking at these things. But okay, so he's answering here. Okay, thank you there, P.
Yep.
So it would be hard to typically pick. See, I need glasses. All right,
You need glasses, my friend.
I do. I have them upstairs, but I mean, I don't. Never mind. I'll explain one time why I wear these. So it would be hard to typically pick apart each one because of perspective. Well, that's the thing. Perspective. If we're talking about natural law, it's a law, right? So it is a perspective, but it's still a law. That it's a law, right? It's the law that binds the universe. So I mean, yeah, I guess you could perspective, right? And a lot of it is, but I'm trying to cover topics that are kind of like not. It's we're looking at the definitions of it, is what I should say, and the working
Yeah.
definitions of these things. So yeah, there's going to be some perspective in it, and a lot of the stuff that we would talk about for sure. And people have different ways of thinking about it for sure. But I think that at least if we have a working definition of natural law, we talk about it, and all of these topics that I want to cover, I think at least it gives us a way to talk about it and break it down and have a discussion about it. I think
Yeah. Yeah.
so.
Check
Yeah,
comments.
yeah,
Check chat.
Yeah, well, yeah,
Check the
well,
chat.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And what is shadow? So Sarah's asking, what is shadow work? We just explained what shadow work was, Sarah. We talked about it.
We did. So, all right, Sarah, we'll go over it again as we get into this. I think this is where we're going to take the direction of this show. We sort of bounce from theme to theme to, do we just sit there and talk about what's going on in the world, or do we cover a bit of this? Because Rick's doing so much of this
Right? Yeah.
in his normal shows. But I think it's a very good place to start. If we can get both of our perspectives out there with the help of these beautiful people that we've got with us,
Yeah.
I think this is a good way to take it.
Yeah.
And on that note, we've just hit the hour that you had set aside.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, that's cool. So we are at an hour now.
We are at an hour.
All right. Well, cool. I can stay a few more minutes if you can. I mean, because I want to
Yeah,
answer.
fine.
I want to answer Sarah's question when we talk about shadow work, and we were talking about it earlier, Sarah. Cass and I, is that this is the work, and it's what I call it. I mean, you may have a different name for it or meditation, but it's the work that you do on yourself when you are alone with yourself, and you are in a and you're and you can't do it when you're distracted by TVs and phones and stuff like that. This is the work that you have to sit down alone by yourself. And I mean, a lot of people have different ways of doing it. I know some people will just sit in a quiet room. Some people will face a mirror. Some people will sit out in nature, as I was saying earlier. They may go for a walk or whatever. It's when you're the alone time with yourself. And this is where you have to start asking yourself questions and confronting things about yourself and the things that you believe, why you believe them, uh, kind of like. And go ahead, Cass, jump in at any time because I have explained this, but that is what I mean by shadow work. Is
You
that it's
do.
the work that you're doing on yourself and being very honest with yourself. That's the hardest part of doing the shadow work is that you have to be brutally honest with yourself and the lies that all of us tell ourselves every day. I think everybody, if we're being honest, we lie to ourselves about a lot of things. And doesn't I'm not saying how big or small they are, but you have to confront these things. And I believe that is the foundation to getting into a higher consciousness state is that you have to start with a good foundation, I was saying. And if you want to add on to the cast, go right ahead, my dear. That's what I mean
um,
by shadow work, though. I hope that answers. I mean, it's just a term that I use for doing work on yourself.
Basically, yeah, yeah. No, I think you've pretty much you've you've got it covered. I think
Yeah,
it's just a case of we need
it's
to
not it's not complicated.
unlearn and relearn.
Yeah,
Just unwind it, unlearn everything and relearn.
yeah. Okay, so yeah, there you go. You don't need to apologize, Sarah, at all. Don't.
Oh no,
I
darling, don't do that.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that you know what I mean by that because I don't think everybody calls it shadow work. It's just a term that I've heard and I like it because I do believe that a lot of the stuff that we bury deep down inside, and it could be traumas, it could be, we all I think have hidden traumas that we bury deep down and we don't want to look at, and we kind of put them in the shadows, and it's a lot of things that people don't want to deal with, and they just kind of like pack it down, put it in the shadow, don't want to deal with it. And I'm saying that is not the way you want to do it. You want to drag these things kicking and screaming out of the shadows and expose them to the light and examine
Yeah,
them. And that is where the true power, that's where your power is going to start lying from, is because then you're starting to do that work on yourself and questioning things. And it's a tough thing to do. It really is, especially this. And I don't, it's a hard thing to sit by yourself. I don't know if a lot of people have, how many people in chat have tried it, but it's not easy.
I can tell you now, there's a couple of people in our chat that are extremely aware of exactly where we're talking about, the place of thing that we are talking about.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I know that. Um, and you are not one, the subconscious. You picked up on it straight up, Peter, straight after. Do we talk about the subconscious wheel? We have that synchronicity going here, people. Again, we have that synchronicity. It's all a flow and effect and a flow and effect.
Mm-hmm.
So, if we're helping somebody here sort of open their eyes and go, oh yeah, that makes sense. Bring it. Questions, ask us.
Yep.
Clues, hints, tips, that's what we're here trying to do. This is it may just be that our job in this is to help pass on the information to help people help themselves.
Exactly. Yeah, and by all means, guys, I'm always learning myself. I'm 100% open with that. I always tell people I am learning every day as I go along myself. This is an ongoing work that I do on myself, and I'm learning things. And it's so I just think that the shadow work is very important. I just really do. When you
Yes.
start, I just think for me, and I think that is where people need to start. Is that, and as Cass was saying earlier, the change starts definitely within before anything. We have to put the change out into the world. You have to first change yourself and get aligned and right, and then go forward with that. So I just know that the way that they have it set up right now, people don't have the time to do it. Right? I mean, like they just got people running so ragged that it's and then they got all these other distractions, right? You have TV and you got all name. There's a million distractions. I'm not gonna sit there and name them all, but people know there's tons
No,
of
no.
distractions out there, and that's what they try to do is keep people distracted and not looking into these things and looking in on themselves, because I do believe that that is where the change is going to happen, and then it just the more knowledge you kind of gather, it all kind
Yeah.
of starts moving forward. So I just think it'd be
It
great. Go ahead.
yeah. No, no, I was going to say it also goes back to the concept of the false prophet. So how can you teach, pass on, um, and help people if you haven't done that yourself?
Mm-hmm.
We speak from a place of we have been there, we get it, we understand, and we can help. If you haven't been, so if you think you have and you haven't, it just doesn't resonate, and therefore, hence the phrase false prophet. Um, we need to do the work on ourselves, by ourselves, for ourselves, um, before we can start preaching,
Mm-hmm.
basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool. Sarah said she's got. Cass, I literally have a
Yeah.
book titled about about shadows. Ah, okay. Geez, I got to get glasses, guys. Holy jeez.
You really
I tell you, well, it doesn't help I'm wearing glasses here, guys, but I will explain one day. Never mind. But yeah, I can. I mean, I just got to make the chat a little bigger next week, and I'll be able to see it perfectly. But
do.
yeah,
There we go.
and I got
It
Cass
helps,
here
my
reading
friend.
it. I got Cass here reading it too, so it's cool. It's cool,
The
but
multitask queen sitting here,
you really are, yeah. And that's what Tanya said too. If you stop learning, I believe you shut off from life. Absolutely.
Boom, boom.
I
Yep.
mean, right.
That's
Like to me, I love learning new things and looking into new things. Like huge,
yep.
life changing.
Yep.
To some of the stuff that I've learned over the years and what I look into, and I'm always willing to look into new things. 100%. I will look into new things and take it in. And like I said, you do the trivium process. You bring in that data, then you process it, see if it works for you, implement it in if you want to in your life. If you're getting the good results, it's working for you, and then you output. But a lot of people aren't even, Sarah, or Tanya aren't even willing to take in the information,
That's right.
and they don't want to learn it. They don't want to look into it because they think they've already got it all figured out. And so, I mean, you have to start. You have to be willing to at least look into new things. And I just find, and I can only go by the people that I interact with. A lot of people that I talk with just aren't willing to do it. And as Cass said earlier, same with her.
Yep. Yep. It's the nature of the beast. People, again, goes back to bred, dumb, indoctrinated. This is how it is. This is how it's always been. This is how it shall be. Off you go, little child, and grow into that mold.
Yep.
Some
Yep.
of us, some of us were lucky enough to go. You know what? Stick your mold up your ass. This is what I'm doing.
Yeah. Exactly. And exactly. And
Sorry.
it's well, it's true though. You have to be willing to do that and say that. And I question everything, I guess I was fortunate. I mean, I was always somebody that was like that, and I've told that on other interviews and on my radio show and stuff about how even when I was in public school, I questioned things constantly. I was always in trouble for questioning the teacher and the priest and everything. I was always whipping questions at them, and they didn't like that very much when I started questioning authority. And very quickly, I learned that they didn't like that. And I think a lot of people find that out very young. That when you start questioning authority, that there, you kind of get a slap on the wrist or you get centered out. And I can only speak from my experience. And then so you kind of don't speak out after a while because you know that you're going to be centered out or not. You're going to get the repercussions of it. So a lot of people, I think, and when they get into that, it sticks with them, and then they just kind of go along. It goes back to going along to get along, right? You don't want to rock the boat, as Peter was saying at one. I think it was Peter. Sorry if I'm wrong. I mean, I'm learning all the names. So, but somebody did say that people are going along to get along, and that's 100% right. And that's the problem. What's going
Yeah.
on right now
Yep.
is that we don't
Yeah.
have,
Exactly.
you know. And what? Okay, so man, no, not all humanity. Okay, yeah. See, they might be having conversations here. I'm jumping in on conversations halfway through, and all right. So yeah, but I hope the chat likes the idea of us meeting, bringing a couple topics per show, and just kind of diving into them and getting what people think and breaking them down. I think it'll
Yeah.
at least help people get on the same, like all of us kind of where it starts, because I talk to people that when I talk about natural laws, I was saying earlier, Cass, they don't know what I mean by that. They have when I say natural law, they have their own, something else comes to their mind, which is usually as I said before, survival of the fittest. They think of Darwin, law of the jungle. That's what they think about when I say natural law. So I think if I have a working definition, what I'm talking about, this is what it is, then people know what I'm talking about when I say that.
Yeah. That's the whole point, though. We need to be able to be concise and be clear about our starting point.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't want to rock the boat. I want to capsize it.
I tell you, Ryan, you are beyond capable of tossing that boat and upending it and then dumping it on their heads, my friend. Trust me.
Stop interrupting us. Interrupting you? Jeez. I know. I'm not. I gotta tell you, Andrew. I'm not used to. I do interviews, as you guys know. I do pre-recorded interviews, and Cass kept telling me that I should try live because it's a lot of fun to interact with the chat, and I agree it is. But I'm not used to having to keep track of it. a chat and follow it and stuff. And I know that Cass usually has like 3 or 4 chats going with all different people. I know I chat her all the time when she's on the show live with Jamie, make her laugh and stuff like that. And
He does.
I do. And then I feel bad afterwards, but it's fun. And she can keep it all going. And I'm watching one little chat here, and I'm already back. Like I don't even know. Like I got to kind of try to see what's going on here, guys. But you know, yeah. See, I think the chat is up to the discussion thing. I think that'll be a good thing. That's what I'm doing. You know.
Yeah.
And hopefully you guys
basically you're on the ball.
Yeah. I just think that we need to at least have a working, like, know what I mean when I'm talking about it, and then that way, when I am talking about natural law, people will be like, "Oh, okay, we know what he means," and vice versa with other topics. And I really want to get into word magic and the meaning of words and that. I know you're big into that too, Cass.
Yes.
A lot of people don't realize the origins of the words they even speak or what their true meanings are, and that's another thing that they're changing over time is the meaning of words. Believe it or not, that they are actually redefining what words mean, and it's crazy. Like when I say that they're hitting us at all fronts, they are, and I'm 100% at that. 100%, I'll back that up.
Absolutely, and it's all by design. It's all by design. The intention is to derail humanity as a collective to their purpose, and it's one that's been long planned and long executed. We are now at the point of tipping where it's up to people like us to stand up and go, bad luck, sunshine, not going to happen. Not today, not much.
And we need more people.
This is our foundation. This is our foundation for it.
Yeah. And we need more people talking about this. That's the thing. We need more voices out there and putting their voice out there. And that's what I was saying, Cass, about the trivium process is that I know a lot of people that do take in the data, they take in this information and they process it. They know it. They know it like the back of their hand, but they don't go to the final step of putting it out the work out there into existence and with their words and teaching people. So people are kind of getting they're taking in, a lot of people I talk to take in the information, They know it, as I was just saying, but they're not taking that final step. And that is what I think people have to start doing. And I'm not saying you have to do it in a podcast way or anything. There's a lot of different ways you can get the work out there, and get the message out. Whatever you're good at. What is your talent? Is it art? Is it music? Is it podcasting? Is it interviewing people? There is, I'm not saying everybody wants to do it this way. Not everybody wants to be on camera or doing what
No.
we're doing, but there is ways to do it. To get that, write a book. I mean, some people are great authors. Lots of ways.
Yep. Yep. Well, we all work in. We all have our talents. Is the phrase I think.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We all have our needs and our methods. For you and for you, this is yours. Apparently, for me, it seems to be one of mine.
Mm-hmm.
Who knew, people? Who knew? Honestly, um, there's others who. Sarah, she's the writer. Sarah is the creative.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we all have our part to roll in this.
Yep. Yep. So I'm just reading comments, guys. So if you see me get this like pause, and I'm like, okay, now I'm caught reading comments. I don't know how you read them, Cass, and just keep going. Like you got two sides of your brain going at the same time. Like I'm gonna read and just talk away. So yeah,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, Peter, you nailed it. You nailed it. Straight up.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, exactly. And then someday, okay, hearing some new thing, and even yeah. So yeah, I mean, yeah, you're more graceful at this cast than I am. You are way more
Nothing
graceful.
graceful about this end, trust me.
Yeah, I definitely, I maybe
Nothing graceful here.
I might have to look into that StreamYards that you guys use because I do really like that feature where you can highlight a
Yeah,
chat and it comes up on the screen.
yeah,
I really like that because it allows everybody to see it, and then you can have it, show it, talk about it, whatever you want to do, and then to move on. So it's I really do like that. So I'm gonna have to start looking into that for sure.
yeah. I tell you what, I'll teach you StreamYard what I've learnt of it, which is self-taught in a hurry on the fly last week when I restreamed our first version of this. Now I've got it. I've got it sussed out. Um, and I'll let you teach me the other one so I can get my head around that too.
Right. Yeah. 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 Well, that's cool, Andrew. If you leave these conversations, these chats, and that we're doing here every time, and you're learning something new, or even
Oh,
just puts a big
thanks.
smile on it. Hey, what more can I ask for, right? What more can Cass ask for?
Yeah,
If we're
bless.
and that's all I just hope that this accomplishes is that people start questioning and doing the work on themselves. When I boil it down, that's what I'm hoping is that I can teach people, uh, and then they can start looking into it. I don't want anyone to take my word for anything that I talk about as 100%. You have to do your own research. You have to look into this. You have to implement it into your life and see if it's working for you and stuff like that. But what I can do is give you my experience and what I'm doing and some working definitions of what I'm talking about, and then we go from there. Because
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, just
That's all we can do.
yeah, and I try it, guys, in the chat. I'm serious. Start asking people that are around you. You gotta do this person. Like do it in person. I'm not saying go and chat. Ask like send a bunch of text out. Ask people in person just to give you the definition, a simple definition of a right. Just ask them, and you're gonna be amazed. How you're not. I've never had anyone give me the working definition of a right.
Actually, please. Well, now that you've just said that, as a point of interest, considering okay, so this is where we're going to take this. Um, anyone who does, I think I have all of you in a contact somewhere,
Oh, I'm sure
whether
you
it's
do.
email or a chat or somewhere. If you do follow through on that and you get any interesting responses, please, if you could let me know. Um, and if you're happy for us to bring it up next week, because I'm sure Rick would be very, very interested, and I'm sure I'd love to share the different answers and responses that everybody gets on that.
Okay. Sarah's like, give me a minute. I think Cass froze up on me. Cass.
That would be quite interesting. So,
Oh, okay. There you're back. All right.
yeah.
Okay, yeah. So just I didn't hear what you said, dear. You just paused. You kind of like froze up for like a minute. So just what were you guys saying?
Oh, I was saying if anybody out there does follow through with that suggestion and ask people around them, if they know the definition of right. If you're happy to share it and for us to share on this show, please, if you could pass that on, that would be awesome because I think
That would be
everybody would be
cool.
really interested to see the variety of responses that we all get.
Yeah, that did. Yeah, I think that would be really neat. It would kind of give us a gauge too of the people that you're asking, where a lot of people's mindsets are and
Yeah.
where their headspace is at. I know I've asked a lot of people. I really like getting in people's faces now and starting to ask them hard questions. And I want to hear, I ask them a lot of different questions. And one of them is, can you give me a definition of a simple definition of a right? I have yet to get a right answer. I've never had anyone give me that working definition. I get a lot of people that just don't know how to give you the definition of it. So I find it interesting, and I think I'd like to see what people actually say. That's a great idea.
Mm.
Just
Just out of curiosity.
yeah, and Sarah's asking right or right, RIGHT. Right.
Yep. Yep.
Simple, simple, and then
That
that.
a natural born right to exist. It's a
Yep.
natural born right to be able to breathe in air. So that sort of natural right
Yeah.
is
We're
the basis of what we're talking.
right. Like what we're our rights as just being part of this universe that the Creator gave us. The rights
Yeah.
that we all have. No one has more rights than anyone. Nobody can give a right to somebody else because they're not your
No.
rights to give away to begin with. So you can't give away something that's not even yours to give away. And just a standard definition of it. And I think, and I keep saying that's why we're losing our rights is because people don't even really understand what they are and how precious they are. And so I think that's a neat. I just think I remember hearing Mark Passio say that in one of his presentations is just go ask people that to give you that definition, and people can't do it. And then that also leads to where you can start asking other things like is morality objective or subjective? Is there a difference? And I can tell you,
Yeah.
bet your ass there's a difference. But you want it to, and then we get into moral relativism, which is another show. That's another one I'm going to be covering too with
Yeah.
Cass is moral relativism,
Yep.
and that is rampant in our world right now, rampant, and a cause of
Yep.
pretty much all our problems is moral relativism and that. But I don't want to just dive into these topics without having the foundation, as I was saying. So these are topics that I will be getting into, though, and then we can discuss. But it's really neat when you ask people. I really enjoyed talking to people and asking them these questions because I just want to know if they even what their answers are. I'm very curious.
Yeah. Tanya, the meaning of right, it actually goes back further than the organized religion, so to speak.
Oh yeah, right, yeah.
A rite and a ritual is as old as dawn. So it's just been like a lot of things. It's been adopted and molested by organized religion, otherwise known as criminal organizations, in a lot of cases.
Mm-hmm.
In a lot of cases, not all, in a lot of cases.
Yep.
But yeah, that's my take on a right. It as in that meaning, that intention, I believe. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I want to delve into the words. So next time, Rick, you want to delve into the words. You mean the meaning of words? Is that what Sarah means?
The etymology of words. Yeah, etymology of words. Absolutely. I like
Sarah,
that too.
yeah, I do too. And let me tell you, Sarah, I'm going to warn you now. When you start, if you go down that rabbit hole of looking into where our words came from and where their origins come from and the meaning, the top of your head's gonna explode. I'm serious. Just by looking into the words and their true meanings, and when you break them
Yeah.
down into their Latin and stuff like that, it is crazy. I do it all the time with words. I really to me, well, yeah, that's why I'm warning her. Once you start looking into that, and I'm sure you did too, Cass. I was looking at so many different. I want to learn what words are, what they mean, what they were meant to mean. And as we were saying, I heard somebody in chat, not heard, saw somebody in chat say they are changing the meaning of words. To me,
Yep. Salty made the comment. They changed the
salty.
meaning of vaccine twice in 2 years, but the true foundation of the word vaccine is something completely different again. So
Yeah, just start looking into it, guys. Really look
yeah,
into to the meaning, to the real meaning of words, and the top of your head will explode. I promise you. When you start and like government, you want to look into the origins of government, and you're gonna see what I'm talking about when I say government is slavery. Break the word down, and I'm gonna start doing that on shows too. I want to break down words and that, so then we can kind of learn together and break them down. But when you start breaking these words down, you're when I say government is slavery, it's in the word. Just let me put it that way.
Oh, yeah, it is. Absolutely, it is.
Yep.
It is.
So it'll be a lot of. It'll be great.
So,
It'll be great. I think we'll have a. I think we'll learn a lot, and that in mind control. Yeah, exactly, Sarah. I mean
yeah,
that's constant. We're in that state constantly. They're putting mind control at us 100%. But
yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
I do agree. And that's the biggest thing we've got to break. Okay, I was so stop it, you. I was going to type that answer, but okay, I'm going to break it in the chat, so I will explain what I'm trying to say. Tanya, I agree. Religion is. Well, stop talking. Where did it go? Believing churches as in a building. I agree. I completely 100% concur. I write in the sense of the way that spelling is 100% connected to spirit. Whether your spirit is um, connected to a Catholic faith or the Muslim faith or something along those lines, it's up to the individual. That was my meaning behind that. I agree with you. The organised building based. Oh, that's a okay. I'm going to follow that theory. The organised building based religions are not reflective of true spirit, whether it was whether in its original intention and form.
hmm
So yeah,
oh yeah. I mean, that's what I tell people a lot too. Is that I'm very very spiritual, but I'm not. Do I follow any organized religion? Absolutely not. But spiritual, you bet. And
yeah,
that's just how I am, and I mean I know you are too. Exactly. But yeah, look into the and Sarah's saying that she does break down. So you're saying, Sarah, that you do break down words? That's cool. Then you know what I'm talking about.
yeah.
I mean, look, break down the word religion. I mean, I'm gonna do that too, and
Yeah.
it's gonna blow your mind. And religion is broken down from the Latin religare, which means to tie back. Right. So religion is when you break down the meaning of the word religion is to tie back and to stop from forward movement. So I mean, religion is designed to keep people not moving
Oh,
forward.
yeah.
Right, and I mean, and I'm just giving you a little example. We're gonna, when I talk about it with Cass during the show, we'll dive deeper into it. But look into the
I
words.
was just gonna say, deep. You too. Deep breath, mate. I thought we weren't going to branch out too far.
I know. I get into it. I'm sorry, Cass. I'm sorry, guys. I'm very passionate about this. So I mean, I start talking and diving in deeper. But yeah, so
Oh, this is so funny.
well, hey,
Anyway,
we're having
we're
fun.
having an awesome conversation. I'm just, yeah, like, deep breath, man. It's all right. We'll get to this.
Yeah. Well, I have to. Well, that's my going to be my. That's going to be the hardest part for me is having a couple topics, and then just sticking to them. Because then I'm
um,
going to want to explain some more and some more and some more. So it's going to be a challenge and it's going to be a discipline for me,
yeah,
guys, to just start with two, maybe one or two topics, and then just discuss for that hour and a half with Cass those two things. Talk to you guys, get your guys' thoughts, and then wait for a week and then move on.
yep.
It's gonna be tough for me because I really like, as you guys can tell, love talking about this stuff.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And it's the fun bit's going to be keeping on track. So,
Oh,
I don't
well,
know. Am I
yeah.
going to have to be taskmaster then? I think I might. I think I might have to.
Well, that's the problem, right? We're gonna have to keep each other on track and stick to it, and that.
Exactly.
So yeah, but I'm sorry, guys. I know I branch off all over, especially
Yeah.
when I do it live like this. I kind of like I'm all over because my brain's just trying to. I want to explain this so bad to people, and to get them
Mm.
looking into it. So it's kind of I have to kind of like pull the reins back a little bit, but I'm just happy everybody's here. It's amazing.
And that's what it's about, though. It's, doing what we're doing. It's about allowing ourselves to diverge. So we can come in here. This is the second time we've started a show and gone, okay, this is roughly where we're going to go, or come into the pre-show, and we've just not even got what we originally talked about
Yeah, that was our first show.
because we start talking and we go off on something else.
Yeah.
Um, and that's the whole point of doing this sort of thing. We just let the flow happen, and this is the end result.
Yeah. Well, I like
Look
how
where
we.
we are an hour and a half later.
Yeah,
It's great.
I like the discussions. I like and I think that's important. Is that how that's how things get worked out? You know, we talking about it, and I want to hear what people think and where their heads are at. We don't, and I said we don't have to agree on everything. I I I I,
Yeah.
I think that discussion is amazing. I love having discussions with people if they're open to willingly look at both sides of it and information and take it in and not just want to argue with you. I'm like, I don't believe you. It's all wrong. Never mind what you're saying.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just like, no, like let's have a real discussion about it. And and then so they're saying is religion is for the masses. Well, yeah,
Yeah.
it's to
But to keep the masses in line, basically.
perfect. See, Cass, you're going off track again. See, now you're moving ahead. Now you're moving ahead. Like, yeah, see, we got an advanced class here, Cass. That's the problem. Everybody in chat's going, hell with this. Would definitely let's go. But you know, it'll be a lot of fun.
And on that note, I think we need to stop today. Otherwise, we'll be here in another 5 hours.
I
I'll
know,
have no work
I
done
know.
and Rick will have no sleep.
Exactly. Yeah, that's great, guys. So, I mean, what do you guys think? Hour and a half is good? Better than an hour? You good with an hour and a half, Cass?
Yeah, I'm good with an hour and a half.
Okay, I agree. Because, I mean, we got a little pushback saying an hour was quick last week.
Yeah.
So I'm
Well,
thinking,
it went quick for us too. We looked at the clock and went,
yeah, yeah,
oh.
exactly.
So,
Yeah, when you get into a good conversation, it goes really quick. I'm glad that we did touch. We want to talk about censorship. We at least did cover censorship to some degree. So and then we went way off the path, but we brought it back. So we'll be more focused next, guys. Yeah, we'll be more. I'll be more. I'll have some slides for us next week and everything. Like I said, with working definitions of what we're talking about, and then we'll stick to the subject and that. And I do apologize, guys. I told Cass I would apologize on air that we got a little late. The show started. Well, it was supposed to start at 9, and we got started late, and I put a premiere up, and I've been so busy, I just wasn't thinking. But next week we will be here at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I promise.
And 9 a.m. Western Standard Time for Australia.
Perfect.
Which is hour and a half and 2 hours ahead. Now, I will restream this probably tomorrow at some point on my channel just to try and get a few of the regulars that haven't found us on here.
I hope they do find us. Yeah.
See if I can bring a few more across.
I like to break at least 200 subs. Holy jeez! I think the information we're doing out here in the universe is amazing.
I know. So I'll reshare it over there tomorrow and see if we can get a few more people interested in what we're doing.
Oh, that'd be perfect. Thank you so much, Cass. And thank you, guys. Thank you in chat. Amazing having you guys. I appreciate you guys so much coming in here and interacting with Cass and I. I know Cass appreciates it too.
I have a ball. You can't miss it. I love it.
Yeah, I can tell. I do too. I'm starting to enjoy it, and I think so. I am enjoying it, and I think it'll be great. And we'll be here next Saturday. 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for me, and what Cass said, she's 12 hours ahead, and we will be
9
here.
a.m. Western Time for me.
Western Time. We'll be here, and we will be on time. I promise.
Ooh, right check. You may not cash that, my friend.
All right, Cass. I will talk to you next week. Well, I'll talk to you before next week, but I will talk to everybody in chat, not probably even before next week. But
yep.
I mean, I will try to keep in touch with everybody, and I will see you on here next week.
All right. Bless. Stay safe. Thank you, everyone.
You too. Take care, Cass, and I will talk to you very soon.
You will.
Take care, guys.